Hello, my name is Moir. I'm Director and Owner of Fidelity Systems Limited. First, an acknowledgement. Some of the new concepts I'll be mentioning today were done in association with Dr. Paul O'Leary at the Waterford Institute of Technology. So just to highlight a couple of terms of my title. Fidelity. Taking that definition as being the exact correspondence to the original. So think of manufacturing a product and it's released with a particular quality, it moves through the supply chain. You want to maintain that quality until that product reaches its final destination, maintaining the fidelity of it. Moisture status, for the purposes of this talk, I'm saying that moisture status means the amount of moisture in a product. Why focus on moisture? Because moisture is a key factor, if not recognized as the main factor, in the stability of pharmaceutical products. Here's the sort of earliest recollection earliest mention of moisture affecting commercial important materials are found in a scientific paper. It's William Thomson, a very famous scientist who became Lord Kelvin. And in this paper he was looking at the movement of water vapor through the air. And he talks about, at the end of this paper, about the strong affinity of water vapor has with organic and fibrous materials. In those days, very little was understood about that process or how it worked. Of course, now we have regulations and guidelines governing the transport of pharmaceutical products. This is taken from the 2013 update to the Good Distribution Practice Guidelines, and it says, hello, I've just lost the screen. Oh, good. Why is doing that? I'll just say that where I come from is I've been interested in the way materials interact with moisture for a long time now. And I set up a company called Electromechanical Systems specifically to look at the way materials interact with moisture. And there's actually a lot to moisture and its interaction with materials that people appreciate. And the thing that really drives interaction is humidity. Now, in this room, you probably feel it. It's warm, there's a lot of people in here, there's liquids in it. The humidity is building in here. And I can tell that most of the substances in this room will be interacting with moisture. Now, you might have been sometime in an old house or something like that where you go in and you can feel the dampness of it, okay? And then it takes a while to get rid of that dampness, doesn't it? That's because all the furniture, all the walls, carpets, curtains, everything has absorbed moisture, okay? And then what you do is you heat the room, and there's a strict relationship between temperature and humidity. And as the temperature goes up, the humidity falls. You don't actually have to change the amount of moisture in the room. That's just a function of increasing the temperature. And as that humidity falls, all these materials in this room have an equilibrium point where they say, well, once the humidity gets set up, I'm going to start releasing moisture. That's how you dry things. You hang your clothes out on the washing line. You hang them out on sort of dry days, don't you? Don't hang it out on damp days because it takes ages to dry. And that's the sort of thing that I'm interested in, and apply this to pharmaceuticals. So if I have my slides here, I'll be able to show you how that mechanism works. It's based on this thing called water activity, and basically what happens with water activity, and this was discovered many years ago, but there was a significant step forward in 1957. This is a chap called William James Scott. Now he was in the Australian military during the Second World War. He was involved in shipping food to the troops in the Pacific Basin. And then after the war, he did a doctorate. And in his thesis, he wrote this incredible thing. I think it's a really significant step forward. What he said was, it wasn't the amount of water that's present in food that causes the spoilage organisms to grow. It's the amount of free water, or loosely bound water, what we would call moisture. And that was a significant step forward. And what that did was, it then created an industry for water activity where people started using water activity to control microbial growth in food. In fact, there's an American Pharmaceutical monograph on this. So you can look up the USP for this. So it's a way of controlling growth of microbes, because they won't grow if that activity is below a certain level. And for the ones that we're seriously concerned about, like Salmonella, E. coli, Bacillus, Pseudomonas, all these sort of organisms, you actually need quite a high level of moisture. Like the surrounding air around the food has got to be up around about 90% before you get growth of those sort of organisms. The moulds that you see growing in the walls, you see it in the corners where it traps moisture, yeah? You have to be up at about those black ones, high 70s, 80%. And why they grow there actually is because the moisture in the room, well, water vapour is lighter than air, it rises, that's why we have clouds up in the sky. And in the corners, it gets trapped, and then particularly if it's on an outside wall. Sometimes you see it on the outside wall, you get the mold growth, on the inside wall, you don't. And that's because the temperature effect, as that moisture reaches that cool wall, the humidity shoots up. Same amount of moisture, it's just the humidity is higher, but that increases the activity of that moisture, allowing those microorganisms to grow. So, what I would have shown today is that we've developed technology that we can measure that activity in a very precise way, such that we've now got analytical precision on that activity of moisture interacting with materials. So that then opens up the possibility of getting this thing that we call Fidelity, the supply chain for moisture status. We can measure the moisture status precisely at one end of the supply chain and then measure it at the other. And the way our technology works, the way the analysis works, is that the equilibrium point I talked about with all these materials in the room, it's the same for pharmaceutical products, that if we can measure that equilibrium point, if the product's taking up moisture, that equilibrium point increases. If it loses moisture, the equilibrium point decreases. And then, I'll just stop. And so, but obviously in the middle, if that equilibrium point stays the same, it means there's been no moisture uptake or loss. So therefore the moisture status has remained the same. So we can measure that at the point where a product's manufactured, goes into the supply chain, any point through the supply chain, gets to its eventual destination. You can measure that again, and you can have precise measurement and be able to make a statement saying, yes, moisture has changed, or preferably in order to maintain, going back to maintaining fidelity, it hasn't changed, because ideally that's what we want. We don't want a change in moisture, because as I said earlier, moisture is the biggest driver for stability of pharmaceutical products. That's kind of the gist of my talk without the pictures. Are we going? Well, all right. Any questions? Let's just do that one. No questions? Okay, right. Well, I'll just advertise myself then. I actually I have a blog. It's moisturematters.com. So I write about just moisture generally, about all sorts of different things. So there's things that catch my interest, and I'll just write about them. And I put my interpretation on what I think is going on based on the knowledge that I now have. which is all self-taught actually. You think about it, I don't know if any of you have done science, but humidity, or specifically relative humidity, isn't actually formally taught. Nobody teaches you about relative humidity. And it's incredibly important. And it's very subtle. It's something that's worth looking into because of this temperature effect on humidity. So where you can have the same amount of moisture. Here we go. Let's see. I'm just trying to think what's best to fast track to. Let's go. Here we go. Let's go this one. Water activity. You take pure water, put it into a closed container. The water evaporates into the headspace. Okay, so water vapor in the headspace. If we measure that amount of water in that headspace, okay, we assign that as a water activity value of 1. But there's another term, equilibrium relative humidity. There's a clue in the term. If we measure the relative humidity at that point, saturation is 100%. Okay? So that gives us a measure of this activity of water. But instead of water, we put a material, this could be any material, but here we're showing some tablets, in a sealed vessel. Then that material will release or take up moisture depending on what the surrounding humidity is at the time. As I said, if you've got something that's wet, it will release moisture until it dries if the humidity is low enough. Okay? So again, we can measure how much moisture is in the headspace, and that gives us a way of measuring the relative. That gives us a way of measuring the activity of the water with respect to the material in that container, or doesn't have a container, and for us it could be a test chamber, and this is how we do the analysis. So if I skip through this, oh yes, this one. I set up Molecular because I got interested in this equilibrium process. I wanted to understand how it worked. After playing around with water activity for about a year or so, I then modified the protocol, the way it's done. And what I said was that you should always start at an elevated humidity above the equilibrium point. And if you do that, what happens is, and you could take your life on this, that you will see a decrease in relative humidity as that material takes up moisture. This happens without fail. It then comes to an equilibrium point. And I call this the water vapor equilibrium point, I've got a natural term to call it, to distinguish it from the standard water activity type measurement, where you just allow a material to come to equilibrium. Let's do this. Oh yeah, quickly, this is a range of pharmaceutical products, tablets taken from the pharmacy at random. And you see that we get a whole range of profiles, a whole range of equilibrium points for these products. So we thought there must be something interesting in this. And that's what we explored further. And that's where Paul O'Leary, Water Institute of Technology, came in. We looked at hundreds of profiles, different types of materials, and then we started to notice some key parameters. First one is the mass material. Here we're using a number of tablets, 1 to 6, to increase the mass inside our test chamber, and we get a lower, every time you increase the mass you get a lowering of the equilibrium point. So there's a relationship there. And then we find actually it comes to a lower limit. Does it go any lower? And the other one we found was starting humidity. Here we took, this is a single tablet in a test chamber, but starting the humidity in 2% steps. And as you lower the humidity, the equilibrium point gets lower, also gets to a lower limit, which just happens to correspond to the same lower limit as when you increase the mass. So that was then telling us we have got a relationship here. This has given us a way that we can control the water activity type analysis, or as we called it, moisture profiling. And by adding those controls into our test, that built-in analytical precision. So here we see moisture profiles of 1 tablet, 5 tablets. You can see we're getting moisture profiles that are almost coincident. We can measure the equilibrium point. We're getting low standard deviations on the equilibrium point. So we've got precision in that measurement. You can see the mass effect here again. This is 1 tablet, this is 5 tablets. This is all very repeatable. So I explained this before about the link to the equilibrium point. Now this is a case study. This is downloadable as a PDF from the Electro website. You'll have all the details of this, but basically we took a moisture sensitive tablet, took it out of its aluminium blistering, repacked it into 3 different types of PVC blister, and what I'm showing here is 2 charts. These tablets were stored for up to 7 days. So this is 4 profiles of the 3 different types of packaging and the original tablets after 1 day and after 7 days, stored under these conditions. And you can see for one of the types of packaging, I think the packaging type called Aquabar, which is reported by the supplier to be a good moisture barrier, that the profile is coincident to the original status, moisture status of the tablets, no change. But in the other 2 types of packaging, we can see that the profile has changed. There's an increase in equilibrium point, and as I explained earlier, that means that those tablets have taken up moisture. We run it for another additional 6 days, up to 7 days storage, and you can see even the Aquabar is starting to show a slight increase in its equilibrium point. So it's not as good as aluminium blistering, it's not bad. So that's how we can tell there's a change in the moisture status. And more or less, the bottom line in this, for this particular presentation is, because we can measure the moisture status precisely, as I said before, we can start at the beginning of the supply chain and then do the analysis, test moisture status, do the same at the end of the supply chain or any point through the supply chain to see if the fidelity of the moisture status has been maintained, and therefore the quality of the product has been maintained, and therefore patient safety is ensured.